Welcome back to a series of unfortunate events, but it's better than the book. And it's actually, did you like the movie? I fucking love the movie.
Is that Jim Carrey? Lemony Snickets.
Lemony Snicket, the best movie. He's a great actor, but people don't like him. He gives me kind of serial killer vibes, but not so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Have you seen the documentary that he did on Man on the Moon? Is it called
No.
Man on the Moon? You know, what was the dude called? Andy. There was a comedian back in the
Andy
day.
Dick.
No, not Andy Dick.
He's a comedian.
Before Andy Dick. It was called Andy Sutton. Not Andy Sutton, but something. And he played, he was like a comedian who used to like wrestle women. Forget the guy's name.
It's
I
a
think it's called
very
Andy.
weird niche to be into.
Yeah, but Jim Carrey played Andy in a film called Man on the Moon in, I think, probably 1999. And then they recently did a documentary about behind the scenes because apparently Jim Carrey lost his mind and he thought he was this Andy guy who's been dead for years. He thought he like took method acting to the next level and he thought he was this Andy guy.
Well, that's what's so interesting I find about people is that you can get so diverse into something you can truly lose yourself.
Well, that's what Heath Ledger did, they say, don't they?
I do it with political stuff all the time. I get so involved into it. I'm getting gray hairs from it.
I'm getting gray hairs from having a kid.
Is your kid seems like a great, was it okay? So the video you sent me with the card trick, with that scream, who was that? You?
No, that wasn't me. That was her.
Oh my goodness. It was the funniest thing in the world. The way your
was...
face did like the whole astonished look right when the voice made that noise. I thought it was you. I was like, is that one of those weird moments where you get a voice crack and it just comes out of nowhere?
No, that trick is so hard. Have you tried it?
No, I don't practice magic because I'm above the age of 13.
It's not magic. It's just flicking a fucking card off your finger.
There are some magic tricks that I would try, like trying to summon like Merlin, the magical wizard. But then there's some where I'm just like, some people do like, is this your card? And I'm like, no, that's not my card at all. It's actually, I didn't even pick a card. I just told you I did because I got anxiety because you asked me a question. I forgot it and I didn't want to tell you I forgot. So I just rolled with it.
I bet you're so fun at pies, aren't you?
I'm trying to be. Mostly I've started to realize like this personality I am on here is the same I am in my real life. And it's interesting to see how like we have a new supervisor at work. And I was just talking to her for 5 minutes and she goes, "Oh, you're Robbie." I'm like, "What is that supposed to mean?" And she was like, "Oh, they warned me about you." I was like, "Warned you? What did I do? I'm not a killer." And she's like, "No, no, no. Just how like your personality is just funny and entertaining." And like she's been here for I think a couple of weeks now, and like everyone that comes in to the gym, regular guests and stuff like that, always like talk me up like to her, like, "Oh my god, he's like one of the best ones. He's always saying hi." So because I do it sometimes to be joking and sometimes to
He's
be
always
serious.
saying hi. I love that.
Well, most like people walk in and I'll be like, I'll raise my voice up an octave. So I'll be like, so this is how I naturally talk is like this. But when someone comes in, I'll be like, "Hello." And I'll do something like that. But then sometimes like I'll be like, "Hello." And then someone will come in right after them and I'll go, "Hello." And they're like, "What the fuck?" Like that person hasn't walked away. So they know like I just now did a voice. So it's interesting to see.
What sort of gym is it? Is it like a proper upmarket spa, pool, sauna kind of place?
It doesn't have a pool, it has a sauna for sure. I wouldn't go in there because every time you walk into the bathroom, there's just naked old people. So I kind of like hold my pee for the whole shift of the working thing.
Oh, do you not like peeing when there's other men in the room?
I don't actually that, and I also don't like seeing a naked guy, like an old man that just wants to towel off in front of public while someone's like just ordering Chinese food casually.
But it's
Because it,
like seeing into the future.
seeing what I'm going to become?
Yeah.
No, 26 is, I'm telling you, that's the limit right there. I'm gonna hit 26, and then anything after that is just luck.
It's interesting though, because it is true. The older you get, the more distended your testicles become.
That's scary. Imagine trying to elliptical for 4 hours if your nuts are dragging onto the floor. I stepped on them. Oh, damn it.
Yeah, it's true. It's a true thing. It's
I
a
get,
sad fact of life.
I think my biggest fear in the world is not becoming who I'm meant to be. And I have no idea who I'm meant to be. So it's a weird twist of irony. Like, I feel like that's kind of what the whole point of like the world is all irony. Like, the one thing that makes you the most happy in the world is also something that is going to be impossible for you to reach. Like that's
Hmm.
kind of what life is ironic.
So what would you say the meaning of life is then?
Think whatever you feel like you should be doing at the time. I feel like it's got to be constantly revolving, just like this beautiful earth that we're living on.
If you believe in a round earth, that is.
It could be flat too. I have no clue what it is. Could be round, could be flat, could be a fucking cone.
Did you read this thing recently? I don't know where it was. It was in America where they reckon that there's been an alien craft landed on a beach somewhere. Have you read about this?
No, but it sounds interesting.
Yeah, there's the dude on TikTok. Obviously, everything's on TikTok now. He filmed one of his CCTVs in it. You know the motion sensors in your garden?
Yeah.
Like if a burglar comes, it'll activate kind of thing, or
I
a
don't
cat
have a
runs by.
garden, but if I picture high class society, I
Well,
picture a garden with
sorry,
motion sensors.
in a backyard, in like your backyard,
In a
your front
backyard. I
yard,
love it how
front
you got
yard,
this type of twang. Like I drink a
like a
fucking soda
twang.
pop.
It's a backyard, not a. We call it a garden.
God.
So in the garden. So basically, he's got this CCTV. It's motion activated, and this like blue light comes down from the sky in the night. So he uploads it to TikTok. Goes mental, absolutely mental. And then he must live near a beach or something. And he went up onto his roof and he filmed the beach that had been shut off by all these people, like FBI and shit. And he's seen this like alien body on the beach, like dead. And it looks like how you would picture an alien body, like thin, long, with, the bald head and all that kind of shit. And apparently, like, FBI people have been stalking his house. People have been staking his house out. His videos have been getting taken down. I've not looked into it that much, but it looks pretty interesting. Whether it's just an elaborate hoax for TikTok views, that wouldn't surprise me either.
Media has changed so much. Media back in the day used to be like the news, and then the news went to like people stopped listening to the news and wanted to do like comedy shows like the Colbert Report, and all that shit became like funny ways of speaking news. Is a funny way of getting your politics across. And now it's fucking TikTok. I was talking to someone, and actually I thought of you about it. Pretty sure I gave you a mention in the episode too. He was talking about memes and gifs are now becoming like the messages and like the prophecies and all these types of things that people are using to communicate with other people, because now our intelligence and patience level has literally just been boiled down to fucking memes. And it's like TikTokers, you go on there are some people that are like, the world is green, everything's green, nothing's ever a color, it's all red, blue, and it's like just starts going off. And then there's a guy that's like, here's about this, and he starts rattling off all these statistical facts about the government, all these corruption, all these things. Actually, the Amazon thing that I retweeted on my Twitter about what the abuse they used to their employees was discovered through TikTok. So that's like a weird way of like, now all this like justice and all these things are being fucking pulled out through media messages like TikToks and gifs and memes and all this stuff. It's freaking nuts to me, where I'm like, and my first question when you talk about the alien thing is like, I saw a video, it was like a blue light that hit,
Mm-hmm.
and people were like, it's whatever, it's aliens, it's this. And I'm like, then someone retweeted, was like, no, it's ball lightning. It's actually one of the rare times you get to see ball lightning. I'm like, ball lightning's not that rare. If you go on an airplane, they happen all the time. It mostly happens on airplanes, because for the ball lightning to actually happen, it takes a lot of time for it to hit to the ground and be able to be an actual thing that floats. So it's very rare. But when it's in an airplane, you're so close to where the actual event's happening at the second it happens that it hits the airplane. It's so pure. And that's why it's most common on airplanes, not on the ground. People just get so surprised by it. I'm like, we're not in a Wizard of Oz like fantasy land where magical pixie orbs are flying around. I do not believe that. Do I believe that there's aliens? Possibly, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the video is just an elaborate way of getting views. That's what I think, because it seems too perfect. Do you know what I mean? Like the fact that this like ball lightning, from my understanding, it sort of stays motionary in the sky, right? And it kind of floats, like you say, like an orb. But this was like a shot, like a comet almost hitting the earth in the distance.
Did you see the picture of the what is it, the comet that landed inside the volcano crater?
No.
There was like one of the inactive volcanoes, a giant one that they have. There was one that hit right into the crater of it. And I'm like, yo, that's something. Like, if that's not going to cause the volcano to become erupting or something, or if that's not like a beam, or that's where, like, because I talked to so many people that talk about like alien experiences. I used to be so into it, and I used to want to know. And now it's like, I don't know. don't know what I'm trying just to be able to wake up in the morning and feel like I have a purpose at some points. Cause I'm like, Jesus, like everything seems rigged. I'm like in a system that's rigged. The queen, whatever you want to talk about, everyone's running and it's all these giant corporations, Bill Gates trying to dim the sun with particles. It's like, what the hell's going on?
What?
Okay, it was a while ago. Bill Gates had an idea of launching a missile into our atmosphere to dissipate particles to dim the sun and block UV rays. And everyone's like, what the fuck are you doing? And he's like, he's not trying to be a supervillain. It's just coming off very supervillain.
I think he needs to get back into Microsoft
I think
because
if you're not doing something, then you become like the devil's idle hands where you just start getting into a bunch of shit you shouldn't be getting into.
yeah, it's like he's saying the stuff that people think about sometimes, but he's saying it on a public forum when
Like,
he's one of the most famous people in the world.
have you ever had an event in your life there you were going to do something, like you had it all planned, you knew this is what you had to do, and then eventually like something happens where you're like, oh my God, I guess I don't have to do that. So now I can go do whatever I want. And the next thing you know, you go do something that you don't want to do, or you go do something that you want to do, and then something happens that you would have never expected to happen. Like I had a day off because I got my schedule mixed up. I thought I was supposed to work. So I planned that whole week knowing I was going to work on this day, had that day off. Then I got there, like, we don't need you. It's your day off. I was like, oh my God, I got my whole day ahead of me. So I went to the grocery store, got some groceries, and then I witnessed a person almost get hit by a car. And then I actually witnessed a car accident. So I was like, holy shit. Like I was not meant to experience this situation, but my life has just become raveled. And then there's another thought that goes in my head that goes, huh, maybe I was meant to experience this event. Maybe I'm somehow linked to the cosmic energy of the world. I also have not slept in 3 days now.
But that you could argue the point that in a parallel universe, you did work that day.
In another dimension, I probably did.
Mm.
But how do we know what another dimension is?
Well, we don't, but there's a lot of, again, on TikTok, a lot of people are setting up accounts now where they pretend they are time travelers or they claim to be time travelers.
It all started from a guy in a newspaper article that said he traveled back in time 30 years ago and he witnessed all the events that are happening now. And then they interviewed him and they realized he's full of shit. Like in 1907 or something like that, there was an archaeologist who was like, I guess she was studying something or whatever, there was a little girl that went to this archaeology site and she was like, oh my God, where's the garden? Where's all the trees? Where's all the plants? Where's all the water? And they realize that she's the reincarnation of this person. I'm like, or is it just a fucking crazy person? Like, what are we talking about here? Like, you learn so much about one thing. Have you ever read so much about, perfect question for you. You're a fucking British Murders podcast. You talk about murders, you study these things. Eventually you start to get so involved into it, this starts affecting your real life, your real thoughts, real things of this. Like sometimes you read a story about have you ever seen the child murders, like the ones where not a person, an adult killing a child, but a child killing a child?
Mm-hmm.
There was a story about a kid who killed his neighbor who was a little girl. They were the same age, like 7 or 9 or something like that. And he buried her in his bed. And his mom was cleaning his room one time and he was sleeping on top of her. And the kid was at school and he was cleaning the kid's room and noticed the water bed seemed to have a leak and lifted up like the thing. And it was a little girl that was under there, the neighbor. And I'm like, so if you read something like that, you start thinking of like weird ways. You probably think reading murder crimes all the time. You start thinking weird ways to murder people. We talked about the shoe thing last time, actually, the episode before the last time. You've been on 3 times.
Yeah. I don't know. The one thing I've noticed is you become immune to what you're reading to the point where it's hard to appreciate that that's real. So you can read, because we've discussed before about that thing that I kind of have or have a lack thereof about, I think it was with you, about imagining things. I'm sure you sent me what it was called. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. But for example, for anyone that doesn't know, when I'm reading a book, I can follow the story fine, but picturing the characters and what they look like and the scenery doesn't really happen in my head. It's just words on a page and it's a story that I follow. It's the same.
You're dead inside.
Basically, yeah, I'm dead inside. It's weird. It's weird though. Like my mate's writing a book and he'll send me a few chapters and he'll be like, "What did you think?" And then someone's like, "Oh, what did so and so look like?" And I go, I've no fucking idea. I'm sure you explained it to me and described it. And he said, oh, yeah, I did in great detail. Well, to me, it's just a faceless, nameless, not nameless, but a faceless figure kind of thing. But so when I'm reading crime, it's like, it's kind of just words on a page, which is pretty fucking dark, isn't it?
So it's not that actually that might be easier for you to be able to like, because I believe there's probably certain characteristics about your personality that fit you to better jobs. There's obviously things like people that are like 6'9" and 450 pounds, bulk, huge, massive guys are probably really good at lifting jobs. They wouldn't be fitting in an office position. It's like trying to watch The Incredibles and you see the dad's typing away on a keyboard when he doesn't fit in the fucking cubicle. It doesn't really work.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to get spoiler alert for a future guest coming on the show, hopefully, is a stenographer, the people that like do the courtroom drawings, but also there's a type of people that do the police crime sketches where they draw out someone's face. And the one thing I'm thinking, like, imagine how many times have you been described a movie? How many times have you been described a song? How many times have you been described a person's look and they're completely off to what they actually look like, trying to figure out who that person is? So these crime people, imagine some dude's describing, well, he's got like a poof in his hair. He's got a tight fitting shirt. He's got his, and all these types of characteristics. And next thing you know, the dude draws it out and then they go after this person, and then next thing you know, they're like, that's not the fucking guy. He doesn't look anything like this person described. The dude's fucking, he didn't, what are we, it's not even the same gender. And it's like, you start to realize like there's a lot that relies on that shit, like stuff that you subconsciously don't even really think about. I mean, the fact, let's take podcasting, for instance. There's a lot of shit that goes into your show, for instance, the studying and stuff. And we talked about before, people like saying you got this detail wrong or you got this wrong. You have so much that you're getting right though, but nobody focuses on the things that you're getting right, and subconsciously you're not even really realizing the things that you're getting right. You're doing so much and putting it into a format that's easily consumable for people to understand such a heated topic. I mean, I've talked to plenty of people that worked in morgues and those types of situations with dead bodies, and they become numb to it. But I remember watching a movie and a guy was playing with the dead bodies, like messing with the toe tags and then like putting them in different spots and positions and joking around. And there's people that on TikTok, nurses that were TikToking with dead bodies and stuff like that type of stuff too. Just fucking for fun, having a stressful day. And then there's a dead person behind him with a towel over their head or some shit to cover up the body. But you got to realize you're around it so much, you become so numb to it. And it's kind of like you have to somehow get it out there. Because if you just sit there and think the whole entire time, this is a dead body, you're going to hate your fucking life 30 years down the line. And people don't want to hear that perspective. They go, that's my grandmom or that's this. It's like necessarily that's not your grandmom. That's not a person. That's horrible that they're doing that thing. But it's also who's doing that job. Who are the people that are doing the jobs that you don't want to fucking do because you just don't want to do that type of thing? And somehow they're trying to have a stress relief on a lot of things. But then I also get pissed when I hear about like, you guys need to wear your fucking mask to protect us. We work in the hospitals. And I'm like, I just saw you TikToking with fucking a dead corpse 10 minutes ago. Don't give me that shit. You see how my mind thinks? I'm always like, I'm teetering on either side. I'm not trying to lean to the left. I'm not trying to lean to the right. I want to stay in the middle and have a happy medium where I'm like, I think everyone's a piece of shit, but at the same time, we got to come together to be less pieces of shit.
So I think stuff like that is interesting, the whole posing with dead bodies and stuff. But I think I get the respect aspect of it, but it's nice that jobs that are not seen as sort of normal jobs are being highlighted, I guess, through stuff like TikTok. People, if you're working in a morgue, people are showing you everything. They're just taking the camera to work. You have live streams on there, and it's just someone working in a bar, and you can watch them through the whole shift if you want to. And people do. Like if they could do a dissection with a camera on there, I'm sure for legal reasons they can't. But if they could, they absolutely would.
The only thing I see a benefit in the Neuralink is that the fact that imagine if you could take the chip out of your head and then put it in somebody else's and let them see through your own eyes, your own perspective of things. Like you see it all the
Mm.
time in court cases when someone's saying their side and then you've heard the story many a times and then you end up getting to the court case and you hear the other person's perspective. You're like, holy shit, I didn't even think of that. Like I didn't even notice it from that angle. It's all about trying to understand through another person's lens. And that's like the hardest thing for us to do because, you could have an easy job. My job's relatively easy on some days, but then I come home and I've had a long, like 16-hour, whatever the hell it is, a long ass shift, and you're ready to go to bed. And people are like, what do you complain about? Your job's easy. It's like, you don't know what the fuck I had to go with today. It's that whole thing.
Mm.
Everyone has that with their job. And it's like, you really don't understand what a person goes through until you see their perspective of things. And sadly, it's very, very hard to see another person's perspective, another person's thoughts based on how they've just grown as a person. I don't know what you're thinking right now. You could be thinking this guy is just dead tired. This is just crazy content. So I'm like Alex Jones in that one podcast.
It sounds like your thoughts, not mine.
A lot of my thoughts.
Don't project your thoughts onto me.
Okay. Maybe I'm making sense. I don't know.
But yeah, I think that's interesting that you can't ever. It's like when you say don't judge people by the cover. Like if someone has a go at you, and like if you have a near miss with a car, let's say, and someone gets out of the car and starts threatening you and all this kind of stuff. Granted, that's not acceptable behavior, but you don't know what that person's been through today. Sometimes that person is just an arsehole, but they may have just lost a family member. They may have just been sacked. They may have just lost a big deal. Do you know what I mean? So it's hard in the heat of the moment to think, oh yeah, this guy's been a prick, but let's just keep my side reserved. It's hard to do that because sometimes the guy is just a tosser.
Well, sometimes the person's not even mean at all. It only happens when you get into a vehicle. I think subliminally, I think the study that I read about cars and aggression was the fact that road rage happens because you're in a vehicle. Subconsciously, you're in a vehicle, like you're thinking that you're subconsciously knowing you're in this vehicle. Physically you're in the vehicle, obviously, but you're not. What you're thinking subconsciously is that at any moment, someone could slip up, could be your death, could be your kid's death, could be this. It's kind of like in cars when they first created them, they only made a seatbelt for the driver. So then you crash into something, you're fine, but your whole fucking family's dead. Like they didn't think to add seatbelts for your whoever in the back seat, your child in their car seat that flies through the fucking windshield, sadly, because they didn't think to add seatbelts. There was something they didn't think of, and then they ended up thinking of it. You subconsciously don't think and really pay attention to the fact that you're moving 80 something miles an hour or whatever, so many miles an hour. And when someone messes with it, someone's texting, someone's like this, you get so aggressive because you're not noticing it subconsciously that you're in this fucking vehicle moving at dangerous speeds. At any moment you could lose your life, except when it comes to a four-way stop. I went to a four-way stop and this car went, and then I was letting it go. It stopped, thinking that, oh, I went there first. It was going to take my turn. So they wanted me to go. I started going. Then they started going. Then I stopped and they started going. And it was just back and forth fucking tangent for 5 minutes, where eventually I'm just like, fucking go. And then she starts driving. I see her and she's eating a tasty cake. And I'm like, you're a piece of shit. You're a trash human being. I'm just like, look, that person could be a great person. But at that moment, I'm like, you're not doing what we're all trying to move. Like the fact that we can travel in a lane of traffic. You ever get into one of those, I think they call them grouping, when you're driving and you're just in a pack of fucking people that are around you, to your right, to your left, in front of you, behind you. They're all like right on your ass, right on your whatever. And you're just somehow all managing perfectly. At any moment, let's say one person has a stroke. Fucking next thing you know, they turn left, hit your car. You fucking hit the cars beside you. You don't realize the fucking imminent danger that you're in, nor like regularly thinking, but subconsciously your mind knows that. So you're super hyper alert. That's when something happens in front of you, you're able to veer out of the way real fast or do something like that, depending on your reflex speed.
That's interesting. I never thought of it like that. But I think the fact that, especially when you're on, like, you call it a freeway, we call it a motorway, that is that is the most boring bit of driving you can do, being on a motorway. It's just constant one speed, switching from lane to lane. There's no stopping, there's no turns, there's nothing. But in theory, it's the most dangerous. So you have to be the most alert in the most boring role. But I think it's what you're saying is kind of because, well, you're right. You are going to get pissed off if someone nearly crashes into you. You just constant, as soon as you get in the car and you set off, you, without realizing it, you might be singing a song or doing whatever in the car. You're just on edge the whole time because anything could happen. And your reflexes do have to be right there, don't they? The whole time.
I think a lot of it does fall into a factor of we're all really disconnected as people, surprisingly, with all the devices we have as connection. And when I mean connectivity, I mean not like talking to like how me and you are. I mean like being on the same frequency, which you kind of notice in a lot of these like conversation chats that we do, me and you,
Mm-hmm.
is like we get on the same wavelength. We start thinking about the same topic, and it just takes that quick little like couple of minutes, and then we're automatically thinking the same thing. Like, yeah, what about this? Or yeah, what about this?
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to start to pick up on the same kind of level that somebody's in. But I think you also have to pay attention to, because it's a skill. The more you do it, the better it gets. Next thing you know where to take things, you know how to go into something or do this. And I think people naturally have that, but everything is telling you in your own mind is even telling you to think, do the best to protect yourself, do the best to worry about yourself. And also people try and overextend their reach and thinking, like when people say, what about all the people that worry about other people? What do you mean though? And they go, well, a Karen worries about everybody not following the rules. And I'm like, yeah, but the thought that goes through their head is not that this person is just not doing this, is the fact that they're not doing this and it's causing danger to my life, just like driving in a car. We're all technically Karens with the car thing. But when it comes
Mm-hmm.
into reality, it kind of goes away. But some people carry that on into their real life and they worry about the dangers of this and this and this based on what they're influenced by. So technically, we're all fucking Karens.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the male equivalent of a Karen? What's
A Joe.
a Joe? Oh,
He's got like a trucker hat on, got a blank blue, like dark blue or light blue shirt, and he wears the blue jeans, and he has his wallet in his back pocket. Probably has scoliosis. Definitely, he's going to go pick up a 6-pack or a 2 liter. And then he usually
100% as a curved spine. 100%.
and then he's got like one of those pockets in his shirt, and it's got 2 pens, one that's already clicked in, so it's just putting ink in his pocket. And then he's got probably some folded up pieces of paper that he's wrote phone numbers on because his wife is probably texting him telling him he's a piece of shit and he needs to pick up milk, eggs, and stuff so she can bake her fucking lemon meringue cake for when the children come over that they haven't seen in 25 years because he's just an alcoholic that gets drunk while fixing his lawnmower in the back shed. That's probably a Joe.
Okay.
I was very
Specific.
descriptive.
Very
I
specific.
should be a stenographer.
Okay, now that's crazy. But coming back to the whole GIF thing and how people communicate using GIFs and memes and that. So do you feel that the art of conversation is being lost, especially with the new generation of kids, whatever they're called, Gen Z or whatever they're called?
I think it's being transferred over to GIFs and memes. Sadly,
Mm,
I just don't think it gives off the same value as much as like a conversation that me and you are having right now. This is fun. 100% it is. I love having you on, Stuart. But if we were in person together and we were having a conversation, having a beer and sitting on like a back porch and just talking shit at all the people that are gardening in the background, like this fucker's got green bell peppers. He needs yellow peppers. What is he doing? You know, it would be a different feeling. We would have more of a kind of a endorphin rush or something because we're actually
mhm.
enjoying each other's company in physicality rather than being virtually. But this still gives us something, but not as like we might feel charged after this conversation. We might feel ready to take on the world and feel like that was a great chat. But if we were in person, it would last a lot longer. It'd be a stronger effect of like, holy shit, that was a good memory. I think we all have memories that we remember with someone. We don't remember the exact things that were said, but we remember that night was fucking awesome. Like we drank beers and my uncle let me see his dog. I don't know, whatever the fucking weird
Mm.
shit that people in vans usually say.
Is
Like, you
that
want
is
to
that
see
what
my
your
dog?
uncle calls it? What your uncle calls his dick?
My uncle's dead.
Not your uncle then.
I'm kidding. I was waiting for you to. I was gonna, but you look at those types of things, and I think memes and gifs are doing the same exact thing. They're still giving that stimulant, but it's at such a low level that it's going to only keep degrading even farther because all the generations that are growing up into that, they only know that. They only know this type of connection. Like I didn't realize, but most of the childhood shows I fucking loved, there's horrible scandals with all of them, like the Dan Schneider shit, all of that, all the Icarly, all the Drake and Josh, all these types of people have like sexual scandals that happen to them at such a young age. And I didn't see it when I was watching it on the show. Like Amanda Bynes
Mm.
probably has the worst experience. Britney Spears too. they're people that were being taken advantage of and you didn't realize it. And then now you realize it. And all the kids nowadays, they just hear about it, but they don't watch that shit. They don't notice that stuff because it just ends up taking a different form. Like my little nephew growing up, gifs and memes are going to be his type of empathetic center to go to of conversation. Then what's going to be after that, because they're never going to know what an actual legit sitting down and talking is. That's kind of the biggest fear for millennials and all these generations coming up, is a bunch of kids growing up not being able to go through a job interview, not being able to do all these types of things. And I'm like, yeah, it's all going to be virtual. It's going to be what's normal to them and what's really going to rationalize to them, because that's how it's been.
So I got 2 questions. Nothing to do necessarily with what we're talking about, but if I don't ask it, I'll forget.
Well, my show is called Out of the Blank.
Yeah. One question, or question number 1, is, do you ever find that when you're doing something fun, like at a party or going to a theme park, anything that you consider fun, a holiday, anything, I don't think we've discussed this before like this, but when you're actually there in the moment, it doesn't necessarily feel fun. Because I think we've discussed this about only remembering the good things about the past. But then after the fact, you look back on it and say, oh yeah, we went to a theme park last week. We had a great time. But when you're there, it's not, you're not appreciating it while you're there. You're just looking back on it fondly. Does that make sense?
Yeah. All the theme parks and amusement parks I ever went to when I was a little kid, and I only remember the good parts about it. You never remember the bad parts about a moment unless it's been all bad. Most of the time it's good, but even most of the moments in amusement rides and amusement parks, do you remember the fun of the ride? 100%, because it's the climax of the moment. But you don't remember waiting in line for an hour and a half, stepping in fucking gum that some asshole spit out because he's too lazy to walk to the trash can that's 10 feet away. You know, you don't realize that type of stuff. And even with that, where I call the guy an asshole for not walking 10 feet to throw the gum in the trash can, maybe the guy has social anxiety and he was afraid to step out of line because there's a bunch of people standing by the trash can talking or showing each other their TikToks and shit that they made on the Superman roller coaster where a dude lost his fucking hat. I have no clue. This is where my brain goes. It starts creating scenarios that probably didn't happen. So I don't know what's real anymore. Did I answer your question?
That answers my question perfectly. Question number 2.
Give me more questions. I'm never like a guest on a podcast, or I never get questions.
Question 2 isn't about you. This is about what the hell's happened to Amanda Bynes and Drake and Josh and Icarly? What's going on? Well, I've seen an Icarly hashtag, but I didn't know what the fuck it was about.
I've talked about this on a past episode, but so recently, actually, Drake was trending on Twitter because apparently he took a 15-year-old
Drake and Josh.
Yeah, Drake. Well, his real name is Drake Bell. Yeah. So he took a 15-year-old girl to a concert when he was on Drake and Josh, and he was over the age, and apparently there was some like flirting and sexual texts that were going on. So now he's being under fire on Twitter right now for sexual allegations and shit of that sort. So also with iCarly, the girl Sam who played Sam Puckett, Jeanette McCurdy, she didn't come back to the show because of her conflicts with Dan Schneider. Apparently on the show, Dan Schneider was sexually like harassing her. Like, if you do this, you'll get the part, or you'll do that. Like, and she was just keeping it under wraps. And this is not the first time he's been allocated with that. Amanda Bynes with the Amanda Show probably has the worst. She went to a mental institution and rehab and all this shit because of her whole entire incident with Hollywood and the Dan Schneider. So a lot of it apparently happens to do with feet, where I was like, how many times did they show fucking feet on iCarly? And then they chopped up all the moments with feet. Bro, there's a lot of fucking moments. There's one where a skit that they do on the internet show where they just stick their toes in mashed potatoes. That's what they fucking do on the show. And you realize that's the dude's sexual kink. And then it gets even worse because there's that show Victorious with, oh God, what's her name? I'm going to forget it again. Ariana Grande. She's doing a vlog, like from it's not shot with professional cameras. It's shot through the computer. That's the point of the show. It's supposed to be her vlogging from her room because she's in high school and she's doing whatever the teens do in the high school days, whatever. And she's like, I'm going to show you guys how to drink water upside down. It's my talent. And then she bends down on the bed and starts doing water, and the water goes a little bit into her mouth and she goes, ah, and then she starts pouring it all over herself like a fucking porn. And you realize, oh my God, like these things you just glossed over. It's like the fucking sunglasses glasses come off and it all comes true. And he's never denied. I mean, he's never spoke about the sexual allegations. He just stopped producing for the show. So he stopped doing all the shows. He just stopped in general. So it's like, that's like saying you did it without doing it. You know what I mean? It's like being at a murder and then you didn't do the murder, but you drove off. So then people are going to think it's fucking you.
Was Icarly the girl who played Megan in Drake and Josh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It came back too. It's okay, I guess. It's like an older version of iCarly.
Yeah, I never watched Icarly, but I knew I used to love Amanda Bynes, the Amanda Show. That was great.
She went to rehab and everything.
Oh, Amanda.
It's always
poor Amanda. Yeah, she went a bit off the rails. I kind of remember that. I never figured out why. But...
She's a very, very gorgeous woman.
Oh, she was one of my first crushes.
That's what I'm saying. How many Google searches have you had in your day?
Well, we're talking, when did that come out? 2000?
Google?
No, I'm talking about the Amanda Show.
Oh, I'm about to say, I don't know when Google came out, but I had to be young.
Yeah, but we had Ask Jeeves back then. Have you heard of Ask Jeeves?
Yeah, I remember Ask Jeeves. I also remember Bing, but then these mobile giant corporational platforms bought them all.
Yeah. So the fucked up thing about Ask Jeeves is it was like, oh, Ask Jeeves. And the advert was, oh, type it, how do you do this, Jeeves? And then you think you're actually asking an AI robot a question. But then when you get older and you put your search in, it gets rid of all your, I forget what the name is, like joining words like the, and, I, if. It gets rid of all of those from the search. Just like Google kind of does.
I like to type in on Google, like how to, and just see what people search up. Like, what are the top results?
Yeah. Well, celebrities do that, don't they? They'll type in what Michael Myers, I've got Halloween in my head. A celebrity, let's say.
Michael Myers is a celebrity.
Yeah, Mike Myers, yeah.
He's a good talk about. I like him, but people don't.
I'm talking about the serial killer.
Okay.
But if you put, how does XX, and then they go on and they just reveal it and, passes 5 minutes of your day.
What do you think Trump Googles when he does his name? Do you think he gets upset by the results?
It should Google Trump impressions because there's some great ones out there.
I mean, then
there's some great impressions of Trump.
Imagine that someone can impersonate you and get you more famous. They like that version of you better than the one you actually are.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like the best form of identity theft.
Yeah. Someone could easily steal his identity. Him and Gordon Ramsay, they're the two biggest impressions that I see online.
Yeah, but I think Gordon Ramsay with his social media presence has kind of like capitalized on that's just an act. He's not really that much of an asshole.
Yeah, definitely.
Would you rather be famous by being hated or being famous by being loved?
I mean, I wouldn't want to be famous, full stop. Put that out there.
Okay, Rick Moranis famous? Or
I don't know who that is.
The guy from Spaceballs that got punched in the face?
None of those words mean anything to me.
Okay, let me pick another actor that's not so popular. What about Alan Rickman famous?
Yeah, Snape. He's not bad famous though.
Yeah, he's not insane famous is what I'm saying.
Oh.
He's just literally he's a very good guy.
Like he's highly respected.
Yes, he's a very very good actor, very good guy, but he's not like one of those giant and crazy ass names that you hear in like a Post Malone or a Jake Paul. Or you could be Jake Paul famous, where you're fucking hated by a lot of people.
Nope.
You don't like Jake Paul?
I fucking hate the Paul brothers.
Why?
I don't know. I don't.
Blonde.
So, what is this? The Aryan race?
No, you're supposed to love all blonde people.
No.
Okay.
Because most blonde people aren't blonde naturally.
That's very, very true. But I don't know why I find them sexually attractive more than other.
So you find the Paul brothers sexually attractive, is what you're saying?
I mean, they're handsome people, but I'm not gonna fuck.
What? You think that?
They're good-looking people.
One of them's fucking ugly, man. I mean, they're both pretty. What do you call it? I was going to say mutton, but I think a better word would be butters.
What type of age are we living in where I can't give a dude a compliment?
No, you can, but give a handsome dude a compliment, not fucking Jake Paul.
Look, this is all subjective.
Give someone like Leonardo DiCaprio a compliment. Give someone like
That guy's handsome and he's got a dad bod and still gets laid all the fucking time.
it's not a dad bod, it's a father figure.
He is a father figure, but he has a dad bod.
Yeah. I saw
Have
that
you
on the
seen him
t-shirt
hug?
once.
Have you seen him hug Jonah Hill?
No.
It was him like running up to Jonah Hill dressed as like a random street person because he just dresses in like random like normal people clothes. He doesn't dress anything fancy when he goes out. And he runs up to
Yeah.
Jonah Hill with a camera, like he's taking videos of Jonah Hill, and Jonah Hill's like, "Fuck, paparazzi or whatever. This person's trying to videotape me while I'm eating an ice cream." And then he goes over and he's like, "Hey, it's me." And then he gives him a hug and shit. He does hug really weird though. Like he hugs and he keeps his like waist back, like he doesn't want his dick to touch him, so he hugs him like that.
Probably don't want to get like done for sexual assault or something.
Or someone morphs up a photo of him and Jonah Hill together like a giant blob from like the sewers.
Yeah, they could do that.
He's
But yeah,
got a face on his neck.
I don't think being famous is worth it. I mean, look at the reason that them Paul kids are famous. I've never seen anything they're actually in. Like, obviously, you can't help but come across them if you're on social media. And I know he's had that fight a few weeks ago or whatever. But they're famous because of children. Like their audience is children.
That's how you capture that. Are you upset with people that break the system? Because I'm not. I look at it like they found a way to work around the system. People don't like when I talk about the Illuminati, people think like I'm thinking shrouded individuals with cloaks sitting in a table and sacrificing all this type of stuff. Is there probably some of that? Bohemian Grove says otherwise, that there is. But I look at giant Illuminati figures are just people that have enough money to get a seat at the table. Bezos, people that look like they're not like Bezos is flying to the moon right now, like, or he wants to fly to the moon. He wants to do this whole thing. He wants to live up there because everyone's fucking pointing out all the crazy shit he does, like the Amazon shit and all those horrible hours and all these like inconveniences. I think like Elon Musk probably could have had a seat at the table, but he's not really about hurting and benefiting off the pain of others. People might complain about the crypto stuff he does, selling it like 420. It's like, well, it's 4 fucking 20. That was the point. It was probably a joke that he had, but maybe he did some manipulation, but he found a way to work around the routine. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying you can't get mad at corporations for trying to make money when that's their whole entire purpose. They don't have a connection to people. I think the Illuminati is much like the cable industry. These cable companies in our area, at least in the States, there's like Comcast, Mediacom, Xfinity, all these giant streaming cable things. They're all like working together. You notice how none of their fucking prices really range differently from each other. There might be one that's a couple bucks different, but they could easily drop it down $50. When one of them increases their price, they all increase their price. When one of them drops their price, they all drop their price. They're all slowly working together as like a corporation. This was proved on Adam Ruins Everything. He was talking about how like monopolies, like the system set up for monopolies not to conspire, but there's workarounds and cutting corners to be able to make these monopolies actually work together. And the biggest one is the cable companies. I'm like, I think that's like that with the Illuminati. It's just a bunch of corporations that once you get enough money, you're offered a seat at the table and they kind of sort you out like, hey, what are you looking to do for the future? Well, I want to make people like connected more. I want people to be happy. I want no one to ever struggle their whole entire life. And they go, okay, we'll give you a call. They never call that fucking guy. They look for the person that comes in the room and goes, what do you want? I want money and I want bitches. It's like, all right, you're fucking hired. And that's the Illuminati, just a bunch of people that are willing to do whatever they possibly can. If that means drain a lake, if that means mine near a school, if that does whatever to make money, they're going to find ways to make sure they can do those types of things. And they don't want anybody at the table that thinks otherwise.
Why would you want to live on the moon?
Because everyone's talking shit on them here.
Yeah, but there's nothing there.
You start building there. Do you want to be at a place where nothing's at? You look at it like that. Imagine looking at it like I'm going to be the first person to build a house on here where I can slowly build up everything. So anybody that comes over there starts to have to work through me like a fucking toll booth.
That's quite, what's the word?
Ostentatious.
Yeah. Quite self-centered, arrogant.
Well, I mean, if you're going to
think God complex in it, it's not called the moon anymore. It's called the Bezos.
Well, we're all kind of got a little bit of like at least not a God complex, but a cult complex. We all want followers. We all want to be looked up and admired to by people, but Some people don't, some people do, you know. It's kind of like the whole social media thing. We all like it when someone likes our stuffs and gives us validation through a like or a retweet or something like that, or watches a video of ours, or watches a
Yeah.
TikTok, or watches whatever. But you got to keep it on the wraps. You can't let it over control your human aspect of that. You want to care for people. You want people to love each other, and you don't want people to suffer. You know, that's very, very hard to say, because once the flow of money comes in, it all becomes tainted water. It's very, very hard to care about people when you got billions of dollars trying to give out. Even if you have, Bill Gates has billions of dollars. His wife was asking for a small fraction and he wouldn't give it to her. That's not, that's greedy. That's not selfish. That's fucking greedy.
Yeah. But you know what I heard once is someone looked at, they say the world's run by 10 people.
I think it's probably like 100.
Yeah. Well, they're talking about the 10 richest people in the world. You're talking people like Bezos and Gates and all that. And they say that, yeah, that they rule the world because they want more money. And this guy was like, it's a good theory, but he said, let's put it to the test. And he looked at Jeff Bezos' net worth, 100 odd billion. Yeah. So he said, let's look at the 5 most expensive properties in the world to live in. Looked at them wherever they were, UAE, Saudi, wherever they were, worth hundreds of millions, sometimes even 1.5 billion for one property. So you got the top 5 properties in the world cost. Then he looked at the top 5 most expensive cars in the world, then the top 5 most expensive planes, helicopters, yachts, everything in the world. If he bought the top 5 most expensive of everything of that sort of value, he would still have 100 billion left. So where is his incentive to earn more money and take over the world for more money? What's he going to do? Take my 20 odd grand a year? What the fuck's he going to do with that? That's one downfall of the kind of argument of the running the world for more money. I just don't get why they've got more money they could physically spend in a lifetime.
It's not running the world for more money, though. It's you become able to have power. And when you get power, the kind of requirement, much like it is to be able to pay your bills, you need money to do so. And then you get the power to be able to do whatever you want. You get electricity for your home to run all your appliances and take care of the things that you need to take care of. That's kind of what the thing is. To get a seat at the table, you got to have money. And once you get money, you have power, because money brings in power. You know how many people will just suck a dick for $1 million? A lot of people will suck a dick for $1 million, man. Like dude, I could drop that price to $5,000. I know plenty of people that will suck a dick for $5,000. I know there are people you can meet that'll suck a dick for 20. You know,
what's your price? 5.
I'm not sucking a dick.
Not even for £1 million.
No, because I don't even know what that even means. £1 million? What is that?
That's like $1.5 million roughly. Quid is slang for pound, British pound.
Okay, well, no, because then you're going to have to live with knowing that you did that. And a lot of people can't live knowing that they did that. I don't think I could get over doing that. You know what I mean? Because I swing completely straight. I'm not any of that. And people will be like, how do you know if you never? I'm like, because I never wanted to. I never wanted to. I have no.
You're worried. You're worried that if you do it for a fucking, you do it for $1 million. You do it for $1 million. You fucking love it, and then you start doing it for free.
To a B, and we might be talking.
Then you start doing it for free. That's why you're scared.
That could be a possibility, and I'm not willing to find out.
Here's an interesting thing, which is quite
dark. You ever try anal?
On me?
Some people try anal all the time. They don't know that they were going to get into it, and once they did it.
Well, we've got a thingy up there, haven't we? We've got
anal?
a G-spot up. No, we've got a G-spot on our ass.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know men had a G-spot up there?
No, I've never shoved enough things up there to be able to tell.
That's common knowledge, man.
I've never sat on a car keys and fucking accidentally.
Our prostate is like our G-spot.
I don't know. I'm not old enough to get one of those exams yet, so.
No, me neither, but I still know it.
Okay, I didn't know. I learned something new every day. The show is educational.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that thought. I had a train of thought, and then you mentioned anal. Threw me off.
I threw you off with the anal. If
Yeah.
YouTube doesn't take me down for the Bill Gates stuff, then it'll take me down for the anal stuff. You
Oh
know
well.
what's really weird is the fact that people are being restricted on what they say. The censorship, they're now letting in a bunch of
Yeah.
things that they didn't let in before. Like you couldn't say anything about the lab, you couldn't say anything about all these types of things. And then now YouTube has relieved those restrictions. So now you can talk about it. You can do this because now it's seemed as like something that could be a possibility. That's very, very strange.
You do have to be careful. Apparently, what someone does that I know who does podcasts, because it's quite hard as a true crime podcast to get monetized because a lot of the words we use are banned words or whatever. But apparently, what you can do, I mean, I'm nowhere near her level or anywhere near monetization, but she's been doing it for years. And she said that she, rather than posting her video publicly, what she does is she makes it private and then she sends it to YouTube to manually overview, and then they come back, give it the green light, and then she can post the video rather than it being taken down, then having it appealed, then having it looked at. It's sort of being proactive in that sense.
See,
But even on TikTok with your captions, I have to put, like, if I say the word murder, I have to put an asterisk in there so it doesn't say, because they must have systems that pick up certain words that just ban your video for no reason.
well, it's like if you talk about anything that mentions like suicide, even though it's a real
Yeah.
thing, it's like that it could be self-harm to other people. There's a thing on Instagram where it's like you can block somebody or report somebody if something says like harmful intent, self-harm.
Yeah.
My buddy got someone commented on his thing, was like, said something about like, that's crazy, I can't believe that happens. And then my buddy was like, yeah, I almost slapped the person as like a, just an expression of like anger, not that he was actually going to do it. And Facebook deleted his post and blocked his post. They said no, it's intending self-harm. It's like, I know they have a lot of content that gets posted. It's like trying to be the amount of YouTube videos that are posted per like minute. There's millions of hours of content that get posted every minute. So trying to sort through all that, they just put a bunch of keywords in, and then the system tries to find what those keywords are and delete them all. So whether it's right or wrong, it's just a whole mix of like, we don't want you spoiling the whole batch, even if it is a mistake.
You know what's fucked up about the suicide thing, obviously apart from the act itself, but is the fact that I did some videos and one of the serial killers hanged himself. And the first of all, people say it's hung. It's not. When it's suicide, it's hanged. So do your research. But they'll put hung. It's actually hanged, you fucking idiot. But then the second thing is, they were like, he didn't commit suicide because suicide is no longer illegal. Suicide implies that he broke a law when he didn't. The official terminology is he killed himself. It's like, fucking hell, man. Come on.
That's more hurtful, saying he killed himself rather than saying suicide.
Yeah. What are you supposed to put? He brutally ended his own life.
Who,
It's
Epstein?
Like... Not Epstein. In my show.
What about the new guy? Who was the new guy that just died that hung himself? And it was like, they say he got Epsteined. That's now a verb.
That's a verb now.
Yeah. Did you not see that trending on Twitter?
Probably not. No, I don't think so.
Give me some background noise.
He got Epsteined. Is that Jeopardy? What's that? I'm humming.
It's not Jeopardy.
What is
Jeopardy is do 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 do.
Oh yeah, that's Jeopardy. Yeah.
Wow, this just shows like the fucking attention span of society, that this was just trending like 8 hours ago and then now it's not even available. There's other shit now. Like, did you know this person dyed their hair a different color? I'm like, who gives a fuck?
You want to see what's trending in the UK right now?
I'm pretty sure we have the same Twitter trendings.
No, it's by country. Trending. United Kingdom trends.
John McAfee.
So number one here is hashtag race to the nines. I think that's Fast and Furious.
John McAfee has reportedly died by suicide in a prison in Barcelona, according to Spanish newspaper El País.
Is he the security dude? As in McAfee antivirus? Is that him?
Yes, that's that guy. So apparently Eric Weinstein said that he reached out to him not that long ago and said that he was not going to kill himself. He's not suicidal. And he says this authoritarian turn around Epstein and all this type of stuff, fortifying democracy, and then it goes on. But it's all this type of stuff. Like he leaked a bunch of like government shit, like tax stuff, all this type of stuff, and got a lot of stuff done. And then this is like people are just going after him. Even QAnon is apparently back up. QAnon followers are already spreading Epstein-like conspiracy theories about John McAfee. Well, that's two political people that have committed suicide in like the past like 2 weeks. The one that exposed the Clintons and then was writing another book about the Clintons died, and he had a family. So it was like he was producing another book and he died. Maybe another body count to the Clintons. I don't know. I'm not trying to say that this is all like conspiracy or this is all this, but I'm looking at it like, when do you start to look at like maybe the facts line up? Like the reason why, like I talk about the lab, I had some dude tell me that like, are you crazy? You think the lab's a thing? I'm like, they're looking back into it. Like the lab tested bat coronaviruses and then also manipulated them as well too. And apparently in 2019, 3 scientists got sick at the lab with all the symptoms of coronavirus. And the one of the guys that was sick transferred it over to his wife, and his wife died from it. So it's like you look at it like, I'm not saying it's like if you see something like, if let's say if you're dying of dehydration and I come up to you, I go, hey man, would you like a saltine cracker or would you like a Ritz cracker? You're not even fucking starving, you're thirsty. Those things don't make fucking sense. And these things are leading the fuck up to each other. And people don't want to look into it because it sorts with a certain side. It's either like, oh, that's Trump saying that. That's Trump's rumors. That's Trump's conspiracy. Oh, that's Biden this, Biden that. Can we, I'm not on a side. I don't give a fuck about either of them. I care about them as people, sure. But I don't give a fuck about what party, if you're a Republican, Democrat, liberal, libertarian, whatever the fuck it is. I'll gladly go back and forth with however I view. But I look at it like, hey, man, this is not about whose side you're on. This is about the fucking truth. I would like to know where this fucking thing came from. I would like to know how it started. And I would like to know to make sure that we never do it again. Because obviously, how many times has science gotten us into something that has ended up fixing itself later?
So when you say the lab, you mean the Wuhan lab in China?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it's a lab in Wuhan.
Well, yeah. Is that not in China?
I don't know where it's at. Could be. I just know it's in Wuhan. That's all I know. I don't know where Wuhan is.
Yeah,
probably in China.
I think it's a district of China, no?
You want to know what's crazy is people consider this
China.
People thought this was a conspiracy till it came out. There was Kim Jong Un, his brother. He killed his brother. He got his brother assassinated in an airport. Some person just went up behind him and choked him like with a wire. And then they put him in the thing and they said it was a conspiracy, that it was Kim Jong Un that did it, knowing that a day before they got into a heated argument on national television in front of all the Chinese people. And then he just looked at him, and Kim Jong Un walked away in silence, didn't say anything else, just stopped, didn't even argue, just walked away. And the dude dies in an airport later. And then also his military chief called him out for killing his brother. Fucking they killed him with an anti-air gun. And that was known as a conspiracy for 2 months. And then it came out as true. And everyone's like, oh, well, that's what happens with politics. Fuck you. Don't say that shit to me. That's nuts. Are you kidding me? Are we not going to be like, all right, look, can we just stop saying that? No, that's not true. That's this, that's that. Can we just wait until the fucking information comes out? Jesus Christ. I'm not even, if the lab is wrong, good. If the lab is right, good. I don't give a fuck. I just want the truth. I want to know this shit. I'm tired of people saying, no, you're a nut job. No, that's this. No, that's that. It's so crazy to me. I'm like, look, can we just say that there's no definitive answer yet? And let's wait until it comes out. That's all I'm saying.
Did you hear the rumor that Kim Jong Un was actually dead? Because and that he's been replaced by a doppelganger.
I heard that Kim Jong Un died. I thought he had the heart attack and they told everybody he died. And then it turns out it wasn't true.
Well, no, I remember he was on his deathbed. And then the next day he was walking around like he's the healthiest guy you've ever seen.
I think they were going to try and do was say that he died, and then seeing what we would do, like us as countries, for like the next couple of months, seeing what actions we do. And then I think he was like, no, wait, I don't want to hide for a month. I want to be out in the open. I want to be able to do shit.
Can't eat KFC if you're hiding, can you?
No, I don't think they have that over there.
Korean fried chicken.
You're a horrible person. But it's crazy because someone was pointing out all these videos of people in China that were, I think they live in Zhejiang, and it's like 5,000 videos of saying, it's all in subtitles because they're speaking obviously Chinese, but they're like, I live here, look at my home, it's nice and happy, and they're smiling and they say their name. Each one of them says, I am this person and I'm from here. It's a great place to live. And
Mm.
all these videos by themselves look normal. Like, okay, these people are trying to stand up for the place that they live in. I can understand that. But then someone took them and morphed them all like side by side, like back to back to back to back. The same thing is like they're reading off a script. They all start with introducing themselves, saying where they're from, saying how amazing the place is, rattling off how nice their home is, rattling off how happy their family is, showing every single one of their family members. And it's like, oh, fuck. Like you start to look at it like, oh my God, when you really pair these up like that, I don't know if it's just a technology doing that, like Photoshop, but if you're really looking at it, like he pointed out the template of the script. He's a popular guy. I think it's like something Joe something. He's a I think like one of the ambassadors or diplomats for over there, and he pointed it out and like on Twitter. But now China's banned YouTube. China's banned all this stuff from all those videos that have been starting to get posted. They banned all of it. They don't want anybody
Mm.
because they think it's going to contaminate the minds of the Chinese people. And I'm like, no, that's the government doing that shit. China's when we say China's the issue, it's the government. It's not they just conflict with us so much. And if they think of it
Yeah.
differently, then they think of it differently. That's where I get into it like a little bit. I'm like, yo, I don't want that happening here. I don't want people censoring things. And I get it for good purpose. Obviously, you don't want people like discriminating or hurting other people's feelings and causing people to hurt themselves. But when do you draw the line of like, when is it hurting someone? When is it cracking a joke? And I get it. Some jokes can be taken the wrong way too, but is it just simple to just ban the QAnon thing, or is it going to be harder and they're going to extend the boundaries to if Stuart, if you tell me that I have a boogie in my nose or something, could that be deleted as self-harm because you're technically saying something hurtful that would make me hurt myself? I don't know. You can't understand. That's why I want the Neuralink thing to be able to see it through another person's perspective so you can kind of, and I don't like putting a chip in your head, but if it can do that, then fuck it.
You call it a buggy, not a bogey.
That's what you got out of that?
Yeah.
Okay. I've been ranting for like 30 minutes. You got to start doing some talking here.
Dude, I was listening. Ah, it's fucked up, man. The whole China thing and the censorship over there is just mad. Like they've got their own internet and shit.
It's happening
crazy.
over here too, man. It's going to end up taking over everywhere where it's going to be like, it's a government issue. It's a power issue. You see that
Yeah.
best probably with studying like these psycho killers and all these people that kill people. A lot of it is a power thing. A lot of them, like what they tie somebody up, they put somebody in a position where they can't do anything and they feel weak. That gets a lot of people off in some matters because most of their life, they probably haven't had power.
Yeah. Most of it comes from childhood. Like I've just done a case about this guy who only killed gay men, but it wasn't because he necessarily, although he said he hated gay people, he didn't necessarily do it for that reason. He chose gay men because he felt, this is in the early 90s, he felt that first of all, not people wouldn't have sympathy towards victims being gay. And secondly, he felt that he was targeting people who were into like S&M. So he felt that it would be easier to get them into that vulnerable position by pretending it was just a bondage game or that he wanted
Damn,
to,
that's
and
fucking
then
smart.
they were tied up, and then he killed them.
Is that
Crazy.
what's the craziest one you've read so far? I know you told me
Oh,
about the small 2-year-old. That was a horrible one. But
yeah, that's a tough one.
that's the one you
Adult
won't do,
why?
right?
Yeah, yeah. It's just because people have already done it, and they've done such a good job. I don't think I'd do it justice, and I don't want to unnecessarily get into that because it's been covered so much,
Do you
and
ever
it's still.
stop and when you're doing these and you ever go like, that's fucking clever as shit?
I mean, the tying up things from a logical point of view makes sense,
Yeah, that
but then
S&M one was
then he would ring up police and newspapers anonymously and say that he's killed people. It's like,
he wanted to be caught.
yeah,
Well,
it's
a lot of it
ridiculous.
is like the rush of being on the run from doing a horrible act.
Yeah, I've just done the recent one, which you probably, I can't remember if that's when I wore your shirt when I did the guy that killed his whole family,
I
which is
think that
pretty
was that
fucked up.
episode.
Yeah, so he sick of his wife one day, killed his wife, and then picked his kids up from school, took them for fish and chips, took them home, drugged them, strangled them. Then he killed both of his dogs, and then just went on the run for a week.
Which one did I send you where the girl survived from the guy killing her whole family because she convinced him to kill her whole family?
You've sent me that much stuff, man. I can't remember.
We talked
the most vivid one I remember from you was the girl that got pregnant. What happened? Some with the spunk got on something and she got pregnant. She with a knife. She got stabbed with a knife and got pregnant. That's fucked up. That
semen on the blade or whatever and stabbed her. She was born without a vagina and it went into her
that was it.
Stomach and then hit one of the eggs and fertilized it. Imagine you're a knife baby.
Imagine people that are trying to have kids and they're following the cycle when you're ovulating, and some dudes managing to attack a girl with semen on the knife or however it happened, and she's getting pregnant without even having a vagina. People go through IVF. Do you have IVF over there? Do you know what IVF is?
Irritable bowel?
No, that's IBF. IV. V Vendetta. IVF.
IVF. Irritable vasectomy.
I don't know what it stands for. No. It's about trying to conceive for people who struggle to have kids.
Oh, irreversible Victal's fertility.
Probably.
I just took a shot in the dark.
I've no idea. But yeah, that's something that people go through as well.
Wait, so IVF in a vertical floorboard.
Let's see what it stands for. Apparently it's awful.
I'm gonna
to go through.
Call it irresponsible viscal fertility.
It's called.
You have a brown case on your phone?
No, dude. It's clear. My phone's yellow.
That's weird.
It's called in vitro fertilization.
Oh, I know that. In vitro fecal fertilization.
Fecal.
I don't know.
Fecal means shit.
Isn't that just like putting an injection and then growing a baby that way?
Yeah, it says an egg is removed from the woman's ovaries and fertilized with sperm in a lab. And then the fertilized egg is returned to the woman's womb to grow and develop. So there's obviously a lot of risk of it not happening. It's not cheap.
I know a couple of people that have been on the show that have done that.
Yeah. So imagine people going through that and struggling with it and paying thousands of pounds or dollars for it, and then finding out that someone in Africa or whatever it was gets stabbed with no vagina and gets pregnant.
Do you think a lot about serial killers is that it's genetic? Like you're just genetically a psychopath?
No,
because my buddy, he's a past guest, good friend. He's not a psychopath. He's a very amazing guy. Shout out to Jason Lampro. But his reason his last name is Lampro was his great-great-grandfather killed someone and then fled the country and went to a different country and changed his last name. So,
wow.
I don't know. I look at it like this. Imagine that you're in a lab and you're growing your baby or whatever. And right when they're about to like put the baby into the woman using whatever that is that you just explained, the scientist goes, Stuart, can you come over here? And you go, yes. So this is your son. And this genetic anomaly in this right here, he's going to be a serial killer. He's going to kill so many people. I think we should destroy this. And you're like, but it's my son. It's our only chance of having a kid. And you're just like, I know, but this is humanity. And then you're just like, yeah, but it's not going to affect in my life.
Yeah, but you'd think he was bullshitting though, wouldn't you?
I don't know, man. Maybe that's what happened with Hitler.
Well, let's say in theory that let's say that moving on from Adolf. Let's say
he's a great painter, but he's going to kill a lot of people. Well,
yeah.
Can we get him into an art scholarship before that happens?
I mean, your son is going to be a very, very skilled leader, but he is going to commit mass genocide. So it's kind of...
He's going to ruin a mustache look for the whole fucking world.
Yeah. I mean, if they said to you, guaranteed 100%, there's no ifs or buts that he was going to become a serial killer. But this is the only time we could ever do this for you to have a child. You would still think that you could change that child by loving it more. Because I personally don't think that people are born inherently evil.
I don't think so either.
I think it's all nurtured, because most of the cases I research, people have either been sexually abused, bullied, sent down and attacked in borstals or youth detention centers. A member of the families raped them or something. It doesn't justify what they then do, but there's usually something external, like an external environmental factor. There's something that's impacted them, which has changed how their mind works
I
for
think
the most part.
I'm 100% in belief of that too. I don't think anybody's born evil. I think it just environmentally affects them, or something happens to them that causes them like a wire to snap or something to cross. But it gets so weird, because imagine if they're able to detect certain anomalies in the brain that are going to cause, like, imagine a person that can't sense certain emotions, has their
Mm,
wires crossed in certain emotions, and they don't know what is wrong and right. These types of things that you're supposed to develop when you evolve or you grow up as a person. Imagine if you're just born not being able to have that compassion or empathy, just having no empathetic factor of things.
yeah.
It's very, very strange. I think it gets crazy because if you look at a person that could change, if a scientist told you that and you can change that person, it's like Omen. How many times do they think they could change Damien from Omen?
Mm-hmm.
The kid was born devil's kid. He wasn't changing.
It's an extreme case,
He
but I
killed
take your
his
point.
whole family and then went to a foster family to restart the process.
But what about this? There's a test when you're pregnant, and I don't know what the test is called, but it tests for Down syndrome or the genes or whatever that could potentially lead to your kid having
Yeah, the
Down syndrome.
chromosome.
The chromosome, that's it. Now the test never says guaranteed not to have it. It's normally 1 in a X amount chance. It might be 1 in 1,000, 1 in 3,000. It could be 1 in 10, which is going to be more likely. So you're never guaranteed that your child isn't going to have Down syndrome. Even if it's 1 in 3,000, there's still a chance. There always is. So it's a similar thing. If you say it could be born evil, but it might not be. But in that situation, what do you do? If they say, look, odds are the kid might have this extra chromosome or whatever it is, or this kid's got psychopathic tendencies, he's not going to have the empathy gene. What do you do as a parent when your kid's 6 months grown?
It's probably my biggest fear when I was a kid.
It's
Or
awful.
it's my biggest fear now too, is if I have a kid, is he going to be mentally challenged? I don't know if I'm equipped to be able to handle that. I look at people that handle, and like my buddy Jason, like I said, he has he has a kid that is mentally challenged, and I tell him all the time, it's the strongest thing I've ever. I could never in my own life. It's not that I wouldn't love them. It's just that I don't know if I could be emotionally equipped to be able to handle that. My mentality,
Mhm.
everything. It's the scariest thing for me, is being, because there are some people, and I give them all the credit in the world to be able to be equipped and handle with those type of things, because I know how hard it got to be. I mean,
Mhm.
that's one area where I was like, I want to improve in the world, is the fact of, like, mentally challenged people don't really get a good go of things in the world. They don't
Yeah.
really get a fair shot at anything. It's very, very hard to have that. My friend that I grew up with, he lived down the same street as me. His mom works at the Food Lion grocery store. That's her fear. She tells me all the time. Kid's 24 years old, still pushing carts at Food Line and stuff like that. It's not necessarily a
Mm.
bad job to anybody that does that, but it's a fact of, like, she tells me, she's like, my fear is one day I'm not going to be here. Who's going to be taking care of them? And that's
Yeah.
kind of like a very scary thing in my mind, is like, you want to make sure your kids, when you do have them, you want to make sure they have everything in the possible world and the possible future to have. But even when you have a kid that is necessarily what you would call normal or functioning, like fully functioning, you never know when it's going to go bad. I saw a fucking kid that was 17 years old. I guess he was on like a boating accident or something, and was completely paralyzed. And he plays Xbox through, like, with a whistle and stuff like that. And his dad has to get him up out of bed every morning, change his pants, have him go to the bathroom, clean out his bag, whatever that he poops in, whatever. He's got one of those colostomy bags, because you
Mm-hmm.
can't move anything down there, and take care of his whole entire life at the age of 17 years old or whatever. And I'm like, fuck, man. I don't know if I could handle that as a parent if that happened, but you never know. Like, you just hope to God something like that doesn't happen to your fucking kids, man. That's the biggest fear, I
Yeah.
think, for any parent, is something like that happening. And you see all these people that are 22 years old. Well, how'd you get in that wheelchair, Bobby? Well, I dove headfirst into a shallow end of a fucking pool, and now I'm fucking, I can't move my legs. That's the scariest fucking thing. I, as a parent,
Mm.
or I'm not a parent, but as seeing from a parent's perspective, that has got to be the scariest thing when that kid walks out the door and you're like, fuck, I have no idea how to protect him anymore now that he's on his own.
Yeah. Every parent, I don't care who you are, every parent wants their kid to be born healthy, let's say 100%. I don't like the word normal, but you know what I mean. But like you say, even if your kid is born that way, normal, without any issues, if you want to call it that, like you say, you don't know what's going to happen. They could just be walking to school one day, get hit by a car. You could. Do you know what I mean? And then what if your kids, if you're a single parent and that happens to you, who's watching your kid? Your kid might have to go into foster care. They might get abused in foster care. Then they might commit crimes. Then they go to Borstals. Then they go to prison. Then they turn into a serial killer. All because someone was driving whilst texting.
I'll never forget when I was hit by a jet ski and I was in the hospital and they're like, you want me to call your parents? And I was like, yeah, call my dad. Let him know I'm here. And I remember seeing him like coming down the hall and he's like, my dad's a tall guy. He usually walks with like his feet like in front of him. I know people like talk about like maybe feet in front of you. I mean, like he literally walks like if he's leaning back as he's walking, like he's doing like and that's how he walks with his feet out, like just like kind of like his feet don't walk straight. His feet go off to the sides like that as he walks. And a little bit goofy. I make fun of him for it. But I remember I was laying on the hospital bed and he came up to me and I'm like, what's up? And he goes, oh, glad you're all right, man. What happened? And I explained to him the whole thing. He goes, you know what my biggest fear was? And I was like, what? That I was dead? He goes, no. My biggest fear coming in here was that when I got a call about my son being in the emergency room, my heart went into my fucking throat, man. Because I was thinking, what I don't know what condition he's in. They said you were eventually like you were fine, you were talking and everything. But I was coming in here thinking that it was going to be worse than what it is. Like that's, and as soon as I saw you down the hall, like smiling and laughing and like, you know, joking around with the nurses or whatever, I knew like everything just got relieved. My heart went back to its spot. I was just in this state of relief, man. Cause that's the biggest fear. And he explained to me, it's actually, he had to help me get to the car because I couldn't walk. But we got into the car and everything. And he's, you know, sitting in the parking lot before you go. Like, are you gonna go? Like, can we get Taco Bell or something? Like, I just got hit by a fucking jet. I got hit by a Sea-Doo going 40 miles an hour. Can we get Taco Bell? That's what I wanted to do. But we went to the CVS to get Advil and Aleve because I didn't want to take Valium or any of the stuff they prescribed me. So I just took the Aleve at like a regular over-the-counter thing. I was abusing the shit out of them because I couldn't walk. But he went in there and he goes, I think the guy that hit you on the jet ski works in that CVS. And there was this manager of the CVS is the one that hit me on the jet ski. It's just ironic as fuck. Like I tell you, life's ironic. But
Jesus,
we were getting Taco Bell. But before we got all the way there and everything like that, we were sitting in the parking lot. And he was telling me, he goes, my biggest fear is that when you get a call like that as a parent and you're gone or something's wrong with your kid and it's unfixable or something's not going to heal, even if a slight little cut, it still hurts. It's something like, and I get it because it's like when you create something. If someone went into your podcast, deleted everything you have ever owned, you have nothing to back it up on, or just destroyed your whole entire thing that you've spent all this time into and it's gone, you're gonna fucking be upset. It's gonna be a horrible thing. It's like when someone steals your identity, that's your character that you built up. So it's technically like your child. It's you. It's a creation that you have had. Anything that you create, you have an immediate protection over. If there was a gun to my head and there was a gun to your kid, you would choose your kid over me 100% because nothing can match the love that you have for the thing that you have created. And that's what's fucking intense that I always find fascinating is that like just that experience that I had with my dad or any experience when it comes to that in general. It's so interesting to see when you see all these accounts of like we talk about justice killings, for instance, on our first episode where that dude shot the guy in the airport because the guy that was getting off for molesting his kid or whatever. And everyone's like, you're looking at it like that's a justice kill. It's seen differently because he's doing a rightful act in a way. It's horrible that he killed someone. He shouldn't have to do that. But he wanted justice. He got justice. And it was because someone hurt his kid. You know, the love that you have, you will act in anything out of rage and emotion just because your love for this person is undying.
He didn't even get any jail time, that guy, did he?
I think he got a couple of months.
I think he just did. He had a suspended sentence. You're talking about the dude who was waiting at the payphones, right? And he was
It was
live
in the middle
on
of an airport. There's a video of it.
Yeah, he's live on TV. Yeah, he was waiting with a baseball cap on at the payphones. Then he just turned around and shot him.
It's fucking
Yeah,
nuts.
it was his kid's karate teacher, wasn't he? Who's been molesting his kid. But yeah, I think he got a suspended sentence and just did some community service, I think.
It's just, I don't know. I don't know how we got on this road, but it's it's fascinating to see how the mind works. I think that's why I like listening to your podcast so much too, is because you kind of like when you talk about it and stuff too. Do you think about any of this stuff? Because I look at that at so many different angles of like, what is this person? How did this person get here? Why do they choose to do it like this? Why do they do it like that?
Yeah. I'm starting to bring it in a little bit more now that I'm filming stuff, because it's like you and I feel like when I'm looking at the camera and I know someone's going to be watching, it's almost like it's more conversational. So the style of my show has slightly changed from just being audio only, because when you're doing audio, when I was writing my scripts, it was so rigid and there was no real room for ad libs. There was no room there was no jokes in there, for example. There was a little bit of like English humor, but I was worried about offending people. I didn't want to treat a serious subject as comical and stuff, which it isn't. But I just think if you can, they say if you don't laugh, you'll cry.
Yeah.
So it's like, like the dude who killed his whole family, and it's awful. And on the day he did it, he went to McDonald's to get a breakfast, where normally he would go back home and have a nap because he's a night shift worker. So, so I said, oh, I went for a Mackey's breakfast. We call it Mackey's here. So I was like, oh, I prefer a Greg's breakfast. And then I said, oh, he got his bacon, egg McMuffin meal with an extra hash brown and all this. Complete load of bollocks. It's just my order, what I would get.
Yeah, I remember that.
Just little shit like that, which it's not funny, but to me, it's amusing. Like,
I'm about to say, I'm pretty sure I messaged you about it when you said it, or I commented. I was like, and I'd kill
yeah,
for a hash brown too.
exactly. Yeah. So I've just recorded an episode, and like I said to you, it's probably the one that I've done the most, kind of brought the most humor into it, just because the guy is the dude who killed all the gay people, just because he's such a piece of shit, and there's no kind of sympathy for this guy at all. Not that there is for any killers, but I just kind of went in on this guy for some reason. So I said, he was into survivalism, like in nature. We have a couple of guys on TV here. I don't know who you have over there. People who are like in the wild and teach you how to survive and bushcraft and all that kind
Bear
of stuff.
Grylls.
Yeah, Bear Grylls. Yeah, he's one I mentioned. I didn't know if you had him over there, but Bear Grylls, that kind of stuff. So I said that he used to tell people, this is true, he used to tell people how to kill snakes, how to skin them and eat them. So I was like, I didn't know we had many snakes in the UK. So, so I said, I researched it. I said, oh, we've got the green snake, the adder, and the smooth snake or something. So, so I said, oh, I'm surprised he didn't mention the trouser snake in that list. But it gave all the Latin names for these snakes. So I said the trouser snake, better known as the longus pipus or biggest dickus, which just makes me laugh. Do you know what I mean? So I'm trying to, but I say it's so deadpan, and then I just move on to the next thing. Most people won't even know what I'm talking about. What was the other thing I said? I said just one more thing. I said he used to dress from head to toe in camouflage gear. So I said, I'm such a fucking idiot. So I said, I bet it must have been weird for everyone else just to see a floating head flying past them.
Did you say that in the one that's coming up, or did you say that in the past? I've heard that.
I've probably said it to you before. It's a common joke that I say.
I'm about to say,
Like
because I've heard you say that before.
Yeah, like if you see a load of camouflage stuff on a load of coat hangers, you think, oh, have they got no stock? Just got a load of coat hangers. It's a stupid fucking joke, but it makes me laugh.
I think that's like the cringiest part. I think there's a couple parts for me about looking through my past episodes. Mostly I look fucking exhausted in a lot of them. Like I have these big like brown bags under my eyes that are just like fucking look like I just got off like it's probably because it was either recorded really early or recorded really late. So I was like dead fucking tired, but I was in it, and then some of them where I'm like wearing a hat where it looks like I'm fucking bald and I'm not. I just have my beanie on or something. But listening to the beginning ones where I was more like structured and all these types of things, and I like where it's at now. Where like I had someone, that was an academic on here, and they were like, you're like, I couldn't narrow your show down. It's so like interesting. And I was like, what do you mean? They're like, there's no flow to, like, there's a flow to it, but there's no like niche, like you do this or you do that. There's no strict, you're just all over the place. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of like you're stepping into my mind in a way. Like you're stepping into, like, I can be serious. Some episodes are funny. You never really know what you're going to get. I think that's why it's like, it's authentic. It's me. I'm never thinking the exact same as I was before on a lot of stuff. And that's because I'm growing as a person as well, too. I think if you're not thinking, or at least, growing at all, then you're not really doing a whole lot. That's what it means to be successful. That's what life is about growing, is about being
Yeah.
something. We bring it back to the beginning of what we were talking about. It's very, very interesting because people do comparisons based on, you know, money or popularity or even your fucking wealth class when it comes to your fucking home, whether you get Dodgers tickets, whether you get fucking you sit and have lunch with Wayne Brady. I don't know, but people judge on those types of things rather than focusing on like your growth as a person, who you are. If you think the same as you did when you were a child, if you do, then there's something wrong. You should be thinking a little bit better or thinking more deeply when it comes to some things.
Yeah. I think the key thing about content, like you and I, content creators, is that make content that you would watch yourself, because you can look at shows that are doing well and try to copy that format. But if that's not natural to you, it's just going to sound rigid. It's going to sound scripted. Whereas, like, do you ever watch Dan Cummins' podcast on YouTube? Yeah, I watch that. That's who I'm trying to almost emulate to some degree. Obviously, he's got a full team of writers. He's a lot richer than me. He's a lot funnier than me. He's a lot more confident on the mic than me, because I do so many fucking mistakes. It's ridiculous. He does the whole thing in one go, which is, fair play to him. So I'm trying to copy his style, but not the length. He does like 2.5 hours. That's not for me. I'll watch his show over a week, like half an hour each day. So I keep my style to 30 minutes max. I'm doing it in a way that when I watch it back, I find it funny. I'm just one of them pricks that finds himself funny. Sounds so arrogant, that, doesn't it? But you got to make content that if you got presented your show and it wasn't your show, would you watch it? And the answer has to. So if someone presented your podcast to you and it wasn't you, would you watch it?
I definitely give it a listen.
Yeah. It's quite difficult because your personality is unique to yourself. So it's a bit of a tricky question for you. But in the form of a podcast, let's say, if you made a podcast, whether it's on sport or true crime or whatever, if you got presented your, like if someone showed me my show and it wasn't me, it was just a show, knowing I'm into true crime, if I looked at that and said, oh, I wouldn't watch that, that's shit, well, what the fuck am I doing? Oh, but millions of people like it. Yeah, but you don't like it. You don't even enjoy your own show. How's that work?
I sometimes don't really enjoy my own show.
Really?
Depending on, sometimes I think it gets very, very hard because, like, the reason why, like we talked about, is there ever a rare possibility I have a guest I don't post or something like that? I have a couple still saved on my computer. Mostly of the time, it's because I get into a conversation with someone who has a job that it's going to affect their job, and they don't think about it, and so they start like, oh man, I don't want this affecting my career. I'm more than happy to take it down. I'm more not take it down if it's not published yet. I don't take down episodes. That doesn't happen. Sorry, if it's up, it's up. But if you message me and tell me it's affecting this, it's affecting that, and or something like a recording, and you don't want it to affect all these types of things, I'm more than happy not to post. I'm not not out here to fucking make anybody look bad, make anybody look a certain way. I'm out here to have fun conversations. And if it means that you don't want your recording posted, okay, I won't post your recording. I don't want to lose contact with you. I'd still like to talk to you. I hope you still have a good life.
That's the thing. You've still had the conversation, which is the main thing.
Yeah. And in rare cases too, there are some episodes where it's like a person only wants to talk about things that they want being promoted, like a book or something, and then I don't post those if it comes to that point, which rarely ever happens because I think I snap them out of that in the first beginning. First of all, if you're publishing a book, if you're publishing anything, don't promote it on the fucking show that you're on. Talk about it at the end when they let you have the promotion, or they have the promotion in the beginning sometimes, because people want to know who you are. If you just keep promoting your shit, they're like, I don't even like the person. There's so much about themselves. You got to have fun and go with the flow of the show. That's why when people go, Robbie, where's your links at when I'm on a show or something? I'm like, it's out of the blank. Google it. That's it. So simple. Like it's not to be rude. It's just people get very, very, when they start going Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, people go, God damn it. Like I've listened to podcasts that are like 3 minutes long and they're just ads. And I get it if you're trying to still keep the money and all that type of stuff too, but people like to hear like you for you got to make your show you got to do your own type of thing. I also am like choking and dying right now on camera if anybody's watching.
Have you ever had guests on where, because you're quite good at getting people to open up. You're good with the open-ended questions. You normally, like when we first came on, even the second time. Yeah, but that's what you do. Like even the second time, I remember, because we go on and I never come on thinking, oh, let's talk about this, let's talk about that. The first time it was a bit more about the podcast, but the second time it wasn't. But I remember the second time you just said, what's been on your mind this week? You know, it's something as simple as that. And that just gets me talking. Then it's not an open-ended question. You can't kill the conversation. You're quite good at that. But have you had anyone on that's not, you just haven't had that chemistry, or they've not, if they come on to talk about a certain thing, they've not opened up about something else, I guess, is the long-winded way of wording that.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned it before. I have an issue with feminists. It's not the idea of feminism. It's just the people, like the ones with the fucking bangs that are like a lampshade, and they fucking come at you like you're a white man. You need to pay for every sin that's ever happened in the world. The fact that you didn't get gas in your car today is my fault. That type. I've had like 2 of those on my podcast where they're like we've been talked about the Native Americans before, and I've been called a racist because they go, all you do is have white people on your show. I'm like, I don't think so. I think I actually hit a broad spectrum. And first of all, I am messaging a fucking page. I don't know who that person is until we get into the goddamn recording. So I don't want to hear shit about that. But I deal with thousands of, like, people think it's just like me uploading a show that I don't ever get a comment. I get so much shit. Most like, you got this wrong, you got this wrong, get this wrong. I'm like, motherfucker, if you caused you to look it up, then I did my fucking job, or I did whatever I wanted it to happen. I get things wrong. Like I said, this is free flowing conversation. I don't research. I don't do any of this type of stuff. I learn something outside and I use it in a conversation if it ends up getting brought into that. That's probably the biggest thing, but that's why I disable comments and shit too. I'm just like, I don't got time to worry about you. I don't got time to worry about this. I'm here for my friends and the people that actually want to be nice and have a good chat.
Do you ever have people on that just can't hold a conversation?
I had a guy with social anxiety. His episode ended up being 45 minutes long. Actually, holy crap, let's bring it back. About 160 episode, I think I was on. So about 700 something episodes ago, there was a guy that was hit by a van, and he's a motivational speaker. He was hit by a van, and he's in a wheelchair, and a lot of things happened to him. His actually girlfriend was killed by the van. The episode went 35 minutes long because he was doing very long pauses and he only wanted questions. So I'm sitting here talking to him, trying to get him to talk, and he's like, yes, no. And I'm like, so he explains the car accident and everything. I'm like, did any of that affect your brain, like your speaking or anything? Because you could tell when you listen to him that it affects his speaking. And I was like, did that ever affect any of that? And he just goes, no. And I'm like, it didn't affect your speaking at all. He goes, no. I'm like, are you sure? And he's like, yes. And I'm like, okay. Well, it's been great having you on. It was only a 35-minute episode. And then I've had one where a guy has social anxiety. I've cut it down. His blog is amazing. I'll shout out to him, Cody Sexton. His blog is, I think it's a thin slice of anxiety on Instagram. His blog is fucking terrific. He writes amazingly. I love to have him when I'm on him. I hopefully want to get him on again if he's listening. But his episode, he has social anxiety, but he wanted me to send it to him. When I got done with it, I edited all the pauses out it was like a 2-hour recording, cut it down to 45 minutes, took every single pause out and everything like that. It's natural flowing. Then I sent it to him. He was so happy. He showed his family and everything. I like that. And then 300 episodes later, almost a full year later, I met someone that went to school with him and we talked about it. Like, that's what I love, is we're all connected in some way. And it's not hard to have a conversation. Like I said, if I have to edit, I'll fucking edit. And that was before that was video. So it's a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah. Video is so long, man. So long.
Yeah, these are all raw. So you hear all the chair squeaks and all the connection errors. I'm sorry. I'm not fucking with the video shit.
Oh shit! The thing is, when I talk to you, mate, I think, oh, I'll bring that up, and then you just don't shut the fuck up, do you?
Me?
I'm like, oh, I'll mention this. 10 minutes later, I'm only joking.
I'm sorry, I go on these rants.
Nah, it's good. I'm only joking. But no, that's good. That so he was just leaving. Was it when he left these long pauses? Then is that because he was thinking of something? Because I know a lot of people. I do it quite often as well. When I'm speaking, I will leave a gap when I'm trying to think of the right word to say, because I don't always want to just say words to fill a gap if that just doesn't sound right. For example, I would rather say something correctly. That was an example of a pause.
Like
Like that. Do you know what I
you
mean?
should take up acting. Jesus, that was a good one. I thought that was a legit 100%.
Oh well,
I could do impressions too. I would like to do an English accent for you.
Go on then.
But that was an example of. I see you gotta talk so I can mimic that.
You don't sound anything like me. Do you want to hear? Your friend called you called him Cody. Cody.
Cody?
Do you want to know how I say that?
Yeah.
Cody.
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 I once. Hello with the bops and the whistles and the flips and the flops. I don't know. I can't do an English accent. I can do an Australian. Oi, that's not a knife. This is a knife. Or you can do Chris Farley. You know who Chris Farley is?
I know the name. I can't picture him.
You know Matt Foley. You know who Christopher Walken is?
Yeah, I've heard that.
Let me hit you with my Christopher. You've heard my Christopher Walken?
I think you did, the way he goes, this is the Foo Fighters.
Foo Fighters. I love that.
Foo Fighters.
I can do Scooby Doo really good.
You look like Shaggy.
If you look at the shirt I have with my face on it, where it's like a cartoon of me with my thumbs up, the artist made my shirt green. Adam, he made my shirt green on purpose so I looked like Shaggy. Like Zoink Scoop. But what were you talking about?
Impressions.
No, you said the pause thing. No, it's more like, imagine being recorded and you've never been recorded before, and you're not even really a talker in real life. It's so very, very hard, because when you're going into something that you've never recorded, never Twitch streamed, never done a podcast, never done any of that, people are going to hear this. So people just want a script. People want something that they can go on. They want questions that they know they're going to be asked. It's so hard to send out an invite and hopefully people see that you're genuine and you just want a conversation. People don't see that. People see like, what did I post that this person wants to get about me?
Scripts are so much harder, man.
It's fucking terrible. I'd rather just think of the questions in the moment.
Yeah. Reading a script is fucking hard.
How do you get your hair like that?
Me?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Gel?
Like this?
Yes.
It's grease, mate.
Looks fucking good.
I'm getting it cut tomorrow because I'm going out on Saturday.
Special date?
No, I'm just meeting my friend.
Your special friend?
Yeah, I see him once a year and we have rough intercourse.
Really? I want to know more about that.
No money gets exchanged.
Okay. So it's passively sex.
Yeah. What are we talking about then? I had a point to make.
Welcome to Out of the Blank podcast.
Yeah. Because I was saying something and you mentioned my hair and I was like, oh, my hair. Thanks.
Yeah. You also have a very nice forehead.
Oh, we're talking about... Oh, thank you. We're talking about scripts, weren't we?
Yes.
So I used to write my scripts and it was so formal. And because have you heard of Grammarly?
Grammarly, the podcast.
No, Grammarly is a website. It might be a podcast, but there's a website and it corrects your grammar and your spelling, hence Grammarly. And so you input a script into that and it says, right, what style is it? What's your audience? Are you trying to be casual, neutral, formal? Are you trying to tell a story? Sexy. I don't think that's an option. Should be. And they'll say, right, and it won't correct them. It'll just highlight, like Microsoft Word puts a squiggly line under misspelling.
The paperclip comes out.
Yeah. The talking paperclip comes out. Yeah. So it's like that, but it'll say, right, this is in the passive voice. It should be in this tone. It helps you writing and your grammar, and it's good because you don't sound like an idiot when you're talking from a script. But the downside of that is you don't sound natural. So when I transitioned from I'm not going to make a transition joke. When I transitioned from audio to video, it was like I had to change that style, because can you imagine a YouTube video where I'm just reading a script that is like, and then he moved into the house and he opened the door and he then walked in 5 yards and then he picked up a knife and then he stabbed her in the neck.
I actually might like that a little bit more. The way you said that.
No.
And he stabbed her in the neck.
Yeah, I'll just do auto thingy.
Can you imagine if my show was like this? You're listening to Out of the Blank podcast. Cast. My guest is Stuart Blues of the British Murder podcast.
That's a hell of a stutter you've got.
I know, right?
Good God.
Some podcast. Mama always said life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
That's good. That's good.
Thank you.
Well done. Some podcasts are like that though. Or YouTube. Yo, what's going up, guys? It's your boy so-and-so. This week on the episode, we're going to have, it's such a great episode, guys. We've got this guy on this week. He's a podcast host. And what we're going to do, let me just give a quick shout out to my sponsor this week, which is so-and-so. Get my discount code. You get 10% off.
Spend $75 and you get a free coffin.
Yeah, what you do is you put the name of the website slash out of the blank, and then you get 10% off. That's my code, guys. I had to pay them $500 to get it. Oh man, codes are shit. People have approached me on Instagram and said, "Oh, do you want to be
Smooth My Balls?" is the one that approached me.
Oh yeah, always smooth my balls. Yeah, they send it to all the ladies as well. All the ladies I'm in a podcast group with, they've all had smooth my balls people come to them. So I went back to them as a joke to see what they would say, and I was like, "Look, what's the crack?" And they were like, "Oh, basically you have to buy their most expensive package, albeit at a discount." So they say,
this package.
And then you have to leave them a review, and then they give you like a discount code to give to people. But you have to pay money, to advertise someone's product. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Did I tell you the time when I had one came up and they said, "Oh, we love your page on Instagram." Bear in mind, it's all serial killers. "We love your page. We really think it would fit in on this website." And it was like a male model website. Just handsome dudes in like suits and,
Abercrombie and Finch models.
Something like that, yeah.
Are you on your phone right now?
Am I on my phone?
Yeah.
No?
Grab your phone real quick.
What you sent me?
I'm going to send you this. So this got a supplement company saw me post this and they wanted me to be a representative. They were going to send me a bunch of free products. And I was like, no, thank you. No, thanks.
Is that you?
My back.
I don't get it. Why am I looking at a picture of it? That's not you, is it?
That is me. Orange tank.
That's you, is it? Okay. So why have you sent me this?
They wanted to get me for a supplement company. And I was like, because you like my page.
Because they saw that on your Instagram.
Fucking back picture. And they're like, oh my goodness gracious.
When's that from? You look good there.
That was this morning.
Was it?
On my lunch break.
Yeah, or you look good, mate.
Midnight break, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
I like to lift heavy objects and put them back down. And people are like, why did you stack all these rocks in front of my door? I'm like, because I don't ever want you getting in. You may never leave. Die.
That's bizarre that I never, even though you work in a gym, obviously I know that, I never had you down as someone who actually used the facilities.
Wow. So I should stop wearing hoodies?
Yeah.
Did you want to see me?
You probably, I mean, I'm not big by any means. I'm also very pale, but look how sweaty I am. Well sweaty. Look at that.
I got a picture of Andy Dick on my phone. I legit have a picture of Andy Dick on my phone. This was
you have a dick pic on your phone.
That's usually what's under the jacket.
I used to be in great shape about a year ago.
This is kind of like that's been my therapy for the longest time.
That's not from this morning.
That's not from this morning. That's from
don't even look like you.
That's from like a year or so ago. I still got it, but I used to be super into it before the podcast. I was like doing 2-a-day workouts and stuff like that. I got really kind of tired of it a little bit. I mean, now it's kind of like I enjoy it, but it's like when you turn work into your fun, it becomes like you lose the passion for it a little bit. So
yeah,
I had a better haircut back then too.
Let's see what I used to look like.
Jacked, killing people with bricks.
I looked okay.
Never fuck with someone that works in a construction facility because those people look like they could like be psycho killers.
That's true. Which is the best one?
How much is 50 pounds of cement? You're like, what? I got a long driveway. You're like, no, you don't. You're a fucking psycho killer. I'm building a patio. It's like, hold on a second.
I'll pick this one. Let me send you this one. Whilst we're sending nudes of each other. Might as well. If anyone saw this chat, they'd be like, what the fuck are you doing?
You were crapping. This is still recording, so it's going to be in this episode.
I don't care.
Okay.
That's me. I've just sent it here.
And once we get closer to the 2-hour mark, I'm not going to be able to edit the audio, so we might need to wrap it up here soon.
That's fine.
Okay.
January 2020, that picture was from. I don't look like that now.
January 2020. Did you send me
something? Mm-hmm.
I got high and deleted it. Hey, there you go. Look at that, man. You got to change the yellow phone out. Jesus.
The signs. Yeah, I like it, man. I picked yellow on purpose.
It looks like my grandmom's ashtray after she smoked cigarettes in it for 40 years.
Yeah. It's like a jaundiced child at birth.
All right. What do you want to end on, my boy?
I'll leave it to the host.
This has been another episode of Out of the Blank Podcast with Stuart Blues.
What it is, guys, is this episode. If you could really hit me up on my merch and get my sponsorship up there, so sign me up on Patreon, give me some money on Buy Me a Coffee. Next week, I've got a great guest, better than this guest, and it's going to be great. So tune in next week. Shout out to my sponsor, another sponsor. My show is just sponsors and 2 minutes of actual chat. Here we go. For my third sponsor is KY Jelly. Go to my website, kyjelly.com/Robbie, and you'll get 10% off your anal lube. And you can find that G-spot.
And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Subscribe. Guys, it helps benefit the show. A like, everything. Leave a comment if you want, because somebody better suck my dick. That's how they do with the subscribe buttons. It's like, somebody better subscribe or I'm going to kill a whole family. It's like, holy shit, subscribe to this guy.
They're trying to shut this down. YouTube don't want this out. The only way you can help, is by sharing, commenting. That means it won't get taken down. Tell your friends, share it. That's the only way.
Yo, I have a message to the people. I am a philosophy expert. Let me tell you, I'm going to make change. I'm going to do anything possible to make sure this world is a better place for the people. That's who I care about. Now, please use my coupon code at Save the Dolphins. It's 25% off. Each one you save is a leather purse in my wallet.
For each code you buy, you get a free shipment of dolphin meat at 25% off. That's 25% off. Save the Dolphins.
Peter's going to cancel me. Thank you.
/Robbie Robertson.